Yo, we talking about groceries on FBA. Yo, easy. Yeah. J to the O, the Mayos. Groceries on FBA. What you know about that? Step your game up, suck it.
Any questions, you can just type them in the chat, and I'm sure he'll help you out. I know you did have some questions about the links and what gets emailed to you every day and the leads, and he really wouldn't be able to answer those kind of questions. But specifically about the groups, he is my business partner, and he is a great expert at wholesale and all that kind of stuff, and definitely anything about Amazon. But specific things to the mastermind, he might not be able to answer those kind of questions. But he's going to do a good overview of, I believe, doing reverse sourcing, finding the products and then finding places to get wholesalers, which is backwards from what most people do. So I'm going to hop off of here, and I'm sure Todd will start recording, and I'm sure he'll be able to help you out, and we'll have a good presentation. Thanks a lot. We'll see you next week.
Thank you.
Thanks.
I'm sorry, is that Todd? I didn't get your name.
Yes, I'm sorry. My name is Todd, T-O-D-D.
Todd, I'm Lux.
Hi, how are you?
Good, thanks.
Good. I used to do these webinars with Sean all the time, and then several months ago, I went back to school, and between that and I still work a full-time job, I just wasn't able to do the webinars. So I've been gone, absent for about 2 or 3 months, but I used to be in a lot of the earlier ones. And as Sean mentioned, feel free to ask questions. If I can't answer any of them, I will take note of them and get with Sean afterwards and make sure they get answered. And we are recording. Yeah.
So primarily the focus would be, if we were to ask questions, I thought Sean said something about if the focus is on tactical arbitrage. Is that what it is? Or
yeah, the only thing I'm not completely familiar with are the buy lists that Sean sends out as part of his group. I'm not creating those, so that's the only thing I couldn't answer questions about.
Oh no, those were my questions.
Oh yeah, you can certainly ask them. I can take note of them, or you can post them to Sean. Either way, whatever you're more comfortable with.
Okay, maybe I can just type it into this chat.
Yep.
And then it's essentially just the criteria for sourcing, and because I see sometimes that Amazon is on there and they're the only they're the only ones on there. So I was just trying to figure out how that works when we are trying to make a buying decision.
Yeah,
so,
and I can actually I'll show you some kind of a couple approaches to use with that, because I've definitely dealt with that in the past, and Sean and I were just talking about competing against Amazon a while back. So let me find something that Amazon, there we go.
And I actually also have something from the list that let me go ahead and copy paste that. And I saw that today. I had just typed this in, asking him this earlier, so.
Okay. Let me pull that up, and I'll go ahead and share my screen out too. Okay. Hopefully everybody can see the screen here shortly.
Yes.
Okay. So is this the item, the 9 West shoes,
Mm-hmm.
$99? Okay. Yeah, it is sold by Amazon. One thing that I use heavily, and I'm sure Sean has used before too, let me see if I can scroll down and find it, is the camel charts. Are you familiar with those?
Yes.
Okay. Those will show you when Amazon has been in stock and out of stock. And this is taking a while to load, but while it is. This is an item that I've competed with Amazon on for about the past 2.5 years. This box 51 photo booth.
Oh, really?
Yep. It's actually available from Entertainment Earth, which is one of the wholesale sources that we show people. And Amazon's getting better. One thing Amazon struggles with a lot is stock forecasting. They're getting better as time goes on, but when they first pick up a product, especially if it's a hot product, they do a horrible job of keeping it in stock. So you can see my screen. See this orange, I guess salmon color, whatever it is. That's when Amazon is in stock on this product. So you can see that ever since really around Christmas of this year, they stayed in stock on this particular item. When I first started selling it, they were in and out of stock almost once a month. And you can see this, the price would spike up like Marketplace News, $38.95 when they're out of stock. When they're in stock, it's down as low as, $6 or $7. So a couple things when competing with Amazon. One, you can get a share of the buy box even if you're the same price as Amazon. Most of the time I've seen where you have to be a penny under. But Amazon will rotate the buy box. They oftentimes have stock issues, so they may go out of stock frequently and not be available. But basically, don't be afraid to compete with Amazon. I would typically, if they're solid in stock like this, I would probably only send in a few just to see how it's going to go. But inexplicably, even on some of the products I compete with Amazon with, I will get the buy box even when I'm the same price as them. So they rotate it in and share it. It could be to do with warehouse placement. Maybe your product is closer to the customer than someone else, but it's not always a killjoy, I guess, when Amazon is selling something.
Now you mentioned that it might be a good idea sometimes to price it lower. Is there like a thumb rule?
I generally will try to match Amazon's price initially because one thing Amazon will do, if they're deep on the item, they will discount it to the basement, basically. You can't really win a price war on them. But I will typically try to match the price, and if that's not moving, I will go a penny lower, no more than 30 cents lower, just to get a rotation on the buy box. And typically, if you can't get one then they're not going to share it, and they'll chase you to the bottom. But yes, to answer your question, as a rule of thumb, I usually buy a small quantity, price them at Amazon's price, or price it high if I see they're going out of stock frequently, and then price it a little bit lower if need be.
Okay. And I do have the how many extension. I have all the extensions hooked up, so that usually really helps in telling me if they're if they have hundreds in stock.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah, and the other thing to also watch out for on the graphs are the season abnormalities. So some things Amazon can't ever stay in stock on, in Christmas or say Easter, and then they're in stock the rest of the year. So if you're going deep on the product or have a good opportunity, I would just check and make sure to see how long you may have to hold it before it goes out of stock. Sometimes it's a risk. Like I was selling these right about I was going to say from around August for $16 all the way up to $38, and that lasted from August through really the middle of September. Okay. So I sent 6 in. They sold great at $20. I think I made like $14 a piece or $12 a piece on them. So then I ordered another 48, sold through all of those, and then ordered another 60, 65, and then by then Amazon came back on stock. So I got stuck with 10 to 12 of them, and eventually just reduced them at my price. But it's definitely it's a game almost sometimes to see if you can stay in stock on something.
Yeah, I would have read that differently. I thought that the fact that Amazon is out of stock there and the sales rank is going up, I thought maybe there are no sales at that time.
It's going up, but I was still selling a large quantity of them. What happened is the sales rank, you notice it didn't really spike until the price really got greedy. I mean, I think it hit, what, where's it at? $15.75, $11.99. See, I don't think, the other thing about these camel things is they don't capture every single sale. I don't think they're super precise because I was selling for $25, $26. And that's about where it peaked out, and the sales really slowed down. So I backed it down, and it seemed like people would pay, $16, $18 for a max, because all they are is they're a bunch of foam cutouts, and then the cardboard picture frame, and they're meant to do like goofy selfies and stuff with them.
Oh, okay.
So it's something that if you bought and you paid $35 for it, you'd be mad. But anywhere between 8 and 20 is a decent price. Let's see if this shows anything better. Yeah, this shows it only getting up to 14.2. Well, that was last year. Yeah. So I've been on this a couple of years, and it was a little higher the year before, I think, when it first came out. So to answer your question, yeah, don't be afraid to compete against Amazon. They are, sometimes they will completely hedge you out on something. Sometimes they'll share the buy box. You just really don't know until it gets there. Um, you'll hear a lot of sellers say that sometimes you'll have a sale that just doesn't make any sense, where it's higher than the buy box. Amazon was on it, but someone chose to buy from you. There's just a variety of factors that could throw it your way, I guess.
Todd, in this case, there's 7 customer reviews, which means it's either not been around for too long or it's just not that popular. I mean, I don't remember what I saw here. I think, oh yeah, it's okay. Let's see.
Yeah, 43.
2015. So it's been here about close to a year now.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So I guess that was another thing that was going through my head. Well, if it's only got 7 reviews in about 8 or 9 months, what does that tell me about that style?
Yeah, and reviews can be tricky. To be honest, I don't really pay attention to the number of reviews. I just look at the rating, basically. So a lot of times I'll find a product and they'll have like an average of 2 or 3 stars, and people say, this is junk, it falls apart. I mean, I personally would buy a product with only 3 reviews that were 4 stars before I buy them with 1,000 reviews that average 2 stars.
I see. Okay.
Just personal preference, and as I'm sure Sean's mentioned, everybody kind of has to develop their own methodology, but that's just from my standpoint because I'm very conscious of our feedback rating. We've been selling online or selling on Amazon since 2008, so 8 years, and we have usually 100% rating. Every now and then we'll get somebody complaining, it'll drop to 99.99, but I protect our rating, so I'm very careful about not buying something that has poor customer reviews because I don't want to get stuck with this product's horrible or that type of thing. But that's my preference. Some people look purely on volume, and in that case, you want to look for high number of reviews, more than the quality reviews.
Got it.
That makes any sense?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yep, no problem. If you have any other questions, then feel free to chime in. I will keep an eye on the chat when my screen is shared. It's a little harder to see the chat, so if I'm not seeing something, just holler at me and I'll...
Sure, I'm going to pull up my email with my list of questions. If someone else wants to jump in, feel free to.
Okay. While you're pulling that up, I'm sure all of you have seen this email, but just in case, I usually try to review things that come in. But Amazon recently announced a change in their long-term storage fees. Since inception, Amazon has kind of allowed you to have one item for free. So, you can have a single item out there and it could set for 10 years and never sell, and you would not be charged long-term storage. Well, starting February 17th, they're changing that so that there will not be an exception for one item.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah. So, depending on your sales model, will dictate how that affects you. I have a lot of items that are, lunar shots, basically. So they're a one-off, very hard to find, rare book or item that I just price high and just let set out there. Obviously, I'll have to reconsider this for these items and based on the size. But that's one thing to keep in mind. I would recommend that when you're coming up on long-term storage, there's the long-term storage fee report that you could run. Make sure you run that because a lot of times, you get a notice that you have 400 items that are going to be charged long-term storage fees, but then you look and the charge is only, $80 or $100 or something minor. So I always caution people to, you can download that report. You can sort by fee. And so I always sort by the fees and just kind of take the top few and that makes sense to return them, and don't necessarily just remove everything or panic because the other thing, going back to this being like a game or stock market, everybody else is going to be removing their long-term storage units too, or fees of that same unit. So if everybody else is shipping theirs in, that's going to narrow the stock that's there. So if it's an item that you're the last one standing, you may have a chance to sell it, if you flinch last, I guess, basically.
Makes sense.
So this should be in everyone's email. They kind of cascade out, but you should have it today, but make sure you read over that and just kind of make a mental note. They are allowing for free removals. So from today through October 14th, you can do, removal of inventory without paying the customary, 50 cents to get it shipped back. And it does not look like, I read through it once, I didn't go through second time, but it does not look like the ones that you ship back are ineligible to be shipped back in. So when they do the long-term storage fees, like earlier this year, it was free removals, but you couldn't ship it back in until after the first of the year. So it does not look like it applies to this. So, but make sure you read over it for yourself and make sure you have everything covered on it.
Oh, so what you're saying is we could ship that back once we get it removed?
I believe so, yes. I read through it once. I did not see anything about that. They just mentioned that it's assessed on all inventory. You can remove them for free.
Okay.
They'll reimburse you for 1 unit. So the free removal is only for 1 unit. So they're basically reimbursing you for the one that you can't leave there anymore. And then it does not say anything about not being able to ship them back in. So,
Todd, is there any way you could maybe just walk us through the mastermind page? I just want to be clear that, I'm going to the right areas. And for example, this, I know that there was going to be something today, but I didn't have a link. So I just want to make sure I'm on top of everything and don't, miss anything.
yes, I'm sorry. And I lost the audio in the beginning. What was it you wanted me to show you?
Oh, I was wondering if you were able to share your screen and just walk us through, the mastermind page itself, just to be familiar, because it seems like there's a lot of info there. And I know a lot of it is old BOLO lists or maybe just, things that have been aggregated over the period of the week. But I just wanted to make sure that what I'm seeing is, what I think I'm seeing.
Yeah, let me get over to one of Sean's groups and make sure I'm referring to the same link that you're mentioning here. 1 second. I belong to about a couple hundred groups, it seems like. So bear with me 1 second while I find some of Sean's groups. Let's see. Yeah, let me do it this way. Oh, I just saw it. Okay, is this the group page you're referring to, or is it a different link?
No, it's actually, I think it's Mastermind. It's a website, not a Facebook page.
Okay, his web page. All right, let me see. I think he has that on the pinned post. If you have the link handy, let me know. Otherwise, let me find it.
Yeah, I'm going to pull it up real quick. I think I have it somewhere here.
Okay.
I've been switching between computers, sorry.
No, that's fine. I've worked with him for probably 2 years, but I don't think I've ever been to his actual mastermind webpage, believe it or not. So I don't know for
My
sure.
Gmail's down, so I'm not able to pull it up for some reason.
Okay. If you do get to it, just interrupt me, and we can go straight back there a little bit later. So reverse wholesaling was one of the was a topic that I was going to cover tonight, and just from a definition standpoint, everybody knows what wholesaling is, I think, which is basically where you find the wholesaler, you get signed up, you see what products they have, and then you go see how they're selling on Amazon. Reverse wholesaling is essentially finding a product that you want to carry on Amazon and then trying to find the wholesaler for it. I figured we go through a couple of examples. If you guys have any specifics, then we can do the specifics. But this one, I know where I buy this, but it's a good one to start with. So it's called, and this one caveat with this is it doesn't work necessarily with every product because some of them are private label products. So I copied this out, but if I just search for photo booth, you will see, 10 Sky Photo Booth, Limo Studio, Joy and Toy. I guarantee you a good percentage of these are just private labels. Somebody, have them made in overseas or have them made somewhere and just put their name on it. Cool. So typically usually will just work with a product where either Amazon's a seller, because that means it's more than likely going to have a wholesaler, or where you see, upwards of say 15 or 20 sellers. So this one, Amazon's carrying, there's 21 sellers. So this has got to be available somewhere. So I usually start by just copying the title here. Then just go to any Google search page and search for Box 51 photo booth. And you can see it's also carried at Walmart, a couple other resellers, eBay, but nothing looks like a company link. So then I would do wholesale. Wholesale party accessories. AliExpress is one you want to ignore because that's, not really a true wholesaler. Warehouse, couple warehouse hits that look like they may be close. But if there's nothing obvious, because someone, when you Google wholesale, will say authorized distributor or, Box 51 wholesaler. When there's nothing obvious, and I look for who makes the actual product. So this is made by Box. So then we look for Box. And that's going to be a tough one because that's named Box. Yeah. In hindsight, that's probably not the best example. Let's see if there's any, Box 51 may be a company name as well. Okay, yeah, Box 51 Australia. Paladone. So let's see. Okay, so it's just regular gift sites. That's our Australia one. So this may end up being a bad example, unfortunately. Because it looks like they have an obscure company name that may be based in Australia, which means the wholesale I buy them from is importing them.
Typically, if you were to want to zero in on a product, like I've never even explored wholesale, but I sort of know how to go about it. But what I'm unclear about is, do you first start off at the movers and shakers page or the bestsellers? Where do you start?
I typically don't, only because I certainly look at the top 100, the movers and shakers, but typically the competition on those is so fierce that I either can't compete on volume or price. So what I like to do is find something that's hot selling, and look for the frequently bought together to see if there's something else I can find, or I'll look at the other products. So like this product, and it looks like their website's dead too. It's an Australian company. But for instance, this product, once I found their homepage or their webpage, I would look and see what other products they sell, and then try to find one that maybe either wasn't carried by Amazon or was in the top 100 where there was a little less competition. Because what I found is, the movers and shakers are the top 100, unless you're getting like a liquidation deal or a phenomenal deal, you're not going to be able to compete on price. It's particularly this item. I mean, this is a good example. This is, what's the sales rank of this one? It has a fairly low sales rank, I believe. Yeah, 1941 in toys and games.
Oh, wow.
So it's a quick seller. My wholesale price on this, I believe, was around $8 a piece. So you can see after fees, you're not going to be making much on this, because Amazon's probably paying less than $8 a piece like I am, and they're not paying their own fees. So they're making, decent money, $11. So I will start with the movers and shakers, but I'll look for something, associated with it. Let's see if we can find some good examples here. Cards Against Humanity, they have selling restrictions on. I know that from way back. Toys are tough, especially board games, because unless it's an expansion or unless there's expansions available, it's kind of tough to do related products on those. So let's go to, let's see. Action and toy figures. There we go. So, and then of course you get the miscategorized items, like there's a PS4 item right in the middle of this page. But and this helps a lot if you have kids. If you can find out what's going to be current, what's coming up. Some of these action figures, if there's a movie that's just released or coming up, they will really spike. But I will go through this list and find a toy like Mr. Potato Head. That's $473. This is it's a Hasbro toy, I believe, which means you either have to buy direct from Hasbro in huge quantities, or you have to go through a wholesaler, which Entertainment Earth is a Hasbro reseller. But then I'll look and see what they're buying together. I will look and see how Amazon has done as far as in stock on this, see what the price is, and just kind of work backwards. Maybe I can't price compete on Mr. or Mrs. Potato Head, but if I look at the what they also bought and go over a couple of pages, some of them are buying Mrs. Potato Head Party Spadette figure. Some of the more obscure one. Here's a Toy Story 3 classic Mr. Potato Head. I'll kind of look at these also boughts to see if I can find something that, it doesn't have quite as much competition on it. Refills are a great thing to look at. There a couple of years ago, there was some hot baby products. I forget the name of them, but they were kind of lifelike looking dolls. They had a variety of ethnic groups that you could buy of the babies, and they're selling like crazy. And Amazon was selling them for like $2 above my actual cost. But then I looked at the accessories, and they had baby food, fake baby food, fake baby diapers, all kinds of supplies that Amazon wasn't carrying. And I was able to find out the wholesaler. So I was able to sell, quite a bit of the supplies instead of going after the doll. And especially if, we always say, start out wholesaling something you're familiar with. So if possible. So if you know a lot about board games, or your Star Wars action figure nut or Lego nut, start off with that if you can, because then you will probably instantly know when you look at the catalog what things are going to be high value, which ones aren't. Some of the Lego sellers, they've been doing this for 10, 15 years. They can walk into Walmart and snatch, specific ones off of the clearance because they know either this line sells great, or that's a discontinued model, or that type of thing. Because that's what helps with the wholesale. Most of them wholesale accounts, the problem is Entertainment Earth, for example, has around 16,000 items last time I checked. So it's almost impossible to go through manually. You can use some tools for it, but even that's going to be expensive, and you're not always going to get good matches. But if you understand like the Avenger character line, or you're up to speed on, shot glasses or whatever you know about, you could just fine tune to that area and then find the things that are profitable for that and just kind of work your way out. One of the things we also recommend is once you get a wholesaler, try to mine their entire catalog before you move on. Reason being, the more you buy from a wholesaler, the better the treatment is you get from them. And because of the effort involved and, the information you have to give them to get set up, it makes sense to get every penny of value out of them you can before you go move on to something else. So that's all we recommend, that, when we do the wholesale, getting started up doing wholesale webinar, we always recommend that people start with Entertainment Earth because there are just so many products on there that, almost everybody can identify with some piece of it or have some knowledge of some of it. They're super easy to get set up with. They have decent pricing. It's not always phenomenal, but it's not horrible. Just sign on here. And it's a good way to get your feet wet. They're very forgiving. They're very sales oriented. So they will go out of their way to make sure you understand how to order because they want you to order from them. But, if you remember anything from growing up or any collectibles or any kind of knowledge of that stuff, you can browse their site by either company. So if you're very familiar with, say, Hasbro toys, you can start looking at Hasbro. You can do theme. And this is where, if you're knowledgeable about, say, Jay and Silent Bob collectibles or, Iron Maiden, then you can go straight to that, or just a product type. So jewelry, or, say you're the expert of lighters. You can just go search on lighters and you can see all their lighters. And with a quick scan, you can probably pick up and see, what you think would be a good value or something to work backwards with. And like I said, once I find one product line, I try to mine that entire product line. So if I was going to take a look at lighters, I would go through all the lighters, pick all the ones that were good sellers, and get those in stock, and just kind of try to keep replenishing those, and then move on to something else.
Is there like a template or a way to approach a wholesaler?
Yep, yes. There's and we did a webinar on it that I would highly encourage you watching, because we walk through step by step, kind of the process to do it. But in the file section on Facebook, there's a supplier cold call script.
Okay.
Put this up and make sure this is the same one. And wholesalers like Entertainment Earth, you won't really need this script, because you can just contact them and say, I'd like to set up an account, and they'll send you a form and it's done, because that's what they do. The supplier cold call script, this is for if you want to approach someone who's either selling on Amazon themselves or not currently selling on Amazon, and you would like to sell for them on Amazon.
Got it.
And this script walks you through kind of what to say to them. As soon as it pulls up here, I'll show you. Yeah, it gives you a couple openings. It's almost like a flow chart where, if there's no answer, it tells you what to do. It gives you questions, like answers if they ask you questions. Like if they say, we're already selling on Amazon or /eBay or Etsy or whatever ourselves, it gives you a suggested response. You can put in your own words, but you kind of lay out your value add on it. And this is, I'd say, from a difficulty and knowledge standpoint, this is probably one step up above wholesale, because with wholesale, you're just trying to find out their requirements and get set up with an account. So you'll want to learn some terminology just so you sound, like you know what you're doing, really. Like they'll have a FOB, which is freight on board. Yeah, minimum order quantities, that type of thing. Be familiar with those. Have your sales tax certificate ready to go. Have a business card. In that webinar, we walk through some free website options. I think our website, I believe, is on Wix still, Wix.com, which was like, it's super cheap, but we've landed, some huge accounts with that, because they just, as long as it doesn't look flashy or like, a MySpace page, they're just looking for basic information. So again, the wholesale account, the hardest part is just meeting their requirements, and a lot of them nowadays are saying, you have to have a brick and mortar sale, which we have some ways to work around that in this document. If you meet the requirements, you get an account. Approaching a distributor or manufacturer or supplier directly is a little more difficult, because you're selling them on you as a company and them allowing you to sell for them online. So it kind of goes into building, kind of the business case, the why they should let you do it, the value you bring, that type of thing. But this is probably one of the biggest gold mines, because this is the type of account where you can negotiate an exclusive, which we've been fortunate to do with a couple of brands, where you say, the general flow is basically, when I'm talking to a supplier, is first I find out if they're selling online, just to kind of understand what their experience is. And if they aren't, it's usually because they either don't have the time or don't have the knowledge. And that's kind of easy to go after. If they are, most of the time, I've yet to meet someone who's a creator or supplier that enjoys selling on Amazon or eBay or what have you. Most of the time it's just, it's a sales channel they have to maintain. It's tedious. They don't really enjoy it. With those, that's where you start building the case of, well, it's good you're already selling Amazon. If you're ever interested in handing that off, we take care of, and you start listing off all the pain points, basically. We take care of all the returns. We take care of the packaging. Amazon is strict about, incoming packages. You have to have an inch of dunnage all the way around, 50 pounds or less, 3-foot drop, and just kind of rattling off all this stuff. And you're looking for that point where their eyes kind of glaze over, where they're either getting bored or just getting overwhelmed. And then you say, but we take care of all that, and for no charge. We'll sell your products. We buy them at the wholesale price. It doesn't cost you a penny. So you can hand off, all the box assembly and packaging and tape and all that stuff that you'll enjoy doing. It costs you nothing compared to a regular wholesale account, and we take care of everything for you. And I usually lead that up with, if they haven't done it yet, I offer to show them how to sell on Amazon for free. And that's actually how we landed one of our first accounts. I said, it's a lot involved, but I'm happy to show you how to do it because, the more good products on Amazon, the better it works out for us. And so I get over there and I start rattling off the stuff they need. And they stopped me and said, can you just do it? Is that an option? And so, we backed into that. So what you're trying to get is a deal where you're buying it at the same wholesale price as everyone else, so their brick and mortar stores aren't upset, but you're taking care of all the selling for them, which has a value. And for that value, what you ask in return is an exclusive. So you say, we'd be happy to take care of all that. No charge to you. All you ask is that you let us be the only seller on the item. And, if at any point you're not happy with us or we're not doing a good job, it ends immediately. But, we invest a lot of time and a lot of money into your product, and we feel it's only fair that, we're the only ones allowed to sell it, so we can recoup our costs.
And so, I'm sorry. So that would mean these are products that are not currently being sold on Amazon.
Not necessarily, because I think personally the target market is someone who is selling on Amazon and have been doing it for a while, and they're just sick of doing it or bored with doing it. Most of from a personality standpoint, my personality is more logic based, operational focused, details of boxes and that type of thing. I don't really have a creative bone in my body. I'm not a creative artistic type. Most of the people that create, these products out of thin air, which I think is amazing, or they do these artistic candles or whatever, they're very creative people. If you want to aggravate a very creative person, you bog them down with details and operations and efficiency and all that stuff. It makes them crazy because they're wired differently. So if I find someone that's selling on Amazon and they're just creating a beautiful product, I picked up a glassware from a guy in California. It was just stunningly beautiful and very creative. Excuse me. And, I asked him, does he create them himself? And he explained the process. And as soon as he did that, I knew he was hooked. And so I started talking to him about what we do, and it was a 2-hour conversation, and he was just so relieved that there was someone like me out there that does that, because he was so sick of dealing with it. He wanted to go create new lines of glassware, new products, and, he was just, his mind was just popping with creative stuff, but all I could think about was the boxes he had to tape up and,
So would you need a warehouse?
No.
Or it depends on the product?
Nope, no warehouse needed at all. I've never had anybody ask me for a warehouse, and the basis for that usually is I tell them that it takes quite a bit of time to set up the product description, or correct theirs or improve theirs or whatever, and take photographs and everything. So I always talk them into doing a very small opening order for two reasons. One, I want to limit my risk. So if their product's a dud and I just don't know it, then I don't want to be out a lot of money. Two, that kind of lets me kind of ramp up. So I'll, like this glassware guy. So why don't you pick, 6 of your best designs, the ones you think are the best, and send me 3 of each of them. So he ships in box. That gives me 6 designs, 6 product descriptions, only 3 deep, which isn't a lot, but that's all I need to know how well it's going to sell. So I get all that stuff up, send it in. And if the first 3 fall off the shelf, then I double down or triple down, or just order however many I think I'm going to need. If it's a flop, then I spend a little time on the product description, buy some advertising on Amazon and see if I can pull it out. And if not, then, I either ask them if they want to buy them back, or you just part ways from there. So you're kind of wanting it to become a mutual partnership where you both have skin in the game. Your skin in the game is your Amazon account. You're doing that work. Their skin in the game is it's their product, so they're trusting you with it, and you have shared success. So the more you can sell, the more money you make, and the more they can sell you, and the more popular the product becomes. If they have a dud product, then it's not doing any of you a favor to kind of prop it up. So no warehouse needed.
Okay. And I know you mentioned glassware, but typically, does it still hold true that you want something that fits in a shoebox and is lightweight? Or
not really. I know that's a popular thing to teach, and that's Amazon likes those small, easy to ship things, but I do not, even if it's a large, heavy thing, as long as the money's there and the fees are there, because a lot of people are scared to sell things like I had one friend that made a mint on these big old charbroil smokers. They're like 4 feet high and weigh about 100 pounds. He made a ton on them because no one else was willing to take a risk and deal with them because they thought they were too big. But he paid the oversized product fees and extra weight and still made a lot of money on them. So to answer your question, no, I look for things that are not easily copied or already patented or, doing innovative. Obviously I wouldn't approach someone who's making silicone baking mats or garlic presses or, anything that anybody can make. So you're looking for something. I personally look for something that has like a backstory, because people love that. If you want to get the raving fans leaving reviews, it's the ones that really buy into the story. Like this person's, making shoes and employing veterans, or, domestic abuse survivors are making this, or, every time you buy this, we plant a tree. There's a lot of support for, buy local, buy organic, help impoverished people stuff. So if you could get a hold of something that's a story, then, you'll have your own raving fan base.
And it doesn't have to be a nationally recognized brand, do you think?
Nope. The first one we started with was a local company right here in Tampa that were just, they were selling at local markets, and they had a couple of retailers. And they had a really great story. So we put them on Amazon. We spent, we really liked them. So we spent a little more money than we should on advertising initially to get it kickstarted. But once it took off, they were picked up as one of the Martha Stewart top products for Christmas one year. They started getting press, magazine. If it's something with a good story, it will get picked up and it will spread. And then, once people find it on Amazon or know they can get it there, then it just goes, like wildfire from there. And we've been with them. That was our first one. I'd say around 2013 was when we signed with them. It's still going strong, They're happy because they don't have to mess with it. And, it kind of, once the relationship develops, it becomes more symbiotic. So like they are frequently doing high end, $3,000 to $4,000 photo shoots. When they go do those, they'll upload them to Dropbox and share out the link to us because they know that we're using them to promote their product on Amazon. So they do that. We refer people to them. If people are looking for corporate gifts or something like that, you get a partnership going basically. But yeah, that's kind of the holy grail, I think, with a lot of Amazon sellers. Private label is kind of the good marketing term and a good thing to pursue if you're that creative person. But for the schmucks like me that aren't super creative, that's my next best choice. I find somebody that's creative. Yeah. Not somebody that is, and then that is creative, and I try to be their friend, and I can kind of ride the success with them.
So can I ask you what percentage of your business is OA, or if you even do OA?
Yeah, OA is probably, let's say 10%.
Okay.
At the most. I predominantly do, I'd say the other 80% is wholesale and maybe 10% is liquidation. It's more seasonal. Like coming into the Q4, I'd say from August till January, I'm 100% wholesale, unless there's a hot product I can get from the store.
Really? Okay.
Yeah, because that's when, if you're deep on stock and you have a hot product, that's the time that, you can really make out. The rest of the year is when I get into liquidation and the retail or online arbitrage, because, kind of spring or summer, sales flatten out. You kind of wait for the next big thing. Wholesale is all about quantity. So that's not the time of year when I'm really wanting to order a 48 case pack of something that, I won't sell the last 40 until December. So it just depends on the seasonality of it, really.
What advice would you give to someone who's just a couple months in with a few shipments? That's where I'm at, and I'm trying to see how I can leverage Q4 at this point to try and, make this a viable proposition going forward. Yeah,
it depends. Would you say you have more time or more money at this point?
So I have gone into this full time. Okay. And we are willing to invest at least 10 to 20K at this point.
Okay. At this, and I don't know when you have to turn the revenue around, but what I generally recommend to people is to kind of the old adage to fail fast, but fail small. So books are a great place to start. There's not a lot of high value, but that's a great place to learn.
I'm sorry, what is a great place?
I'm sorry, books,
Books.
BOOKS. Yep. Everybody that we've kind of taught to sell, we always have them start with books, because you can go to the Friends of Library sales and buy them for 50 cents, or, you can go scan. You're not going to be out a lot of money with books, and it gives you a real good education in creating product descriptions, keywords, and dealing with returns. It kind of gets you used to the mechanics. Once you're familiar with that, I usually recommend going with retail, because retail arbitrage initially, or online arbitrage really, because with that, you're doing the research before you take the risk. And even then you're taking a very small risk. So when I was first starting out, if I would go scan at Walmart, if I found an item, even if it had a great sales rank, I would only buy 2, maybe 3 at the most. Because once I got home, that's when I could find out, is it, because at the time that the Amazon seller app wasn't out. So all we had was, Profit Bandit, and it wouldn't tell you if it was restricted. So, I wouldn't know till I got home if it was restricted, or if it was going to be a pain in the butt to prep, if they're really what the issues were. So, but I would start small, and my focus from the beginning was always replenishables. So I was always trying to strive to the point where I could just, and I use a software package for it, but where I could go print out the list of things I need to restock and send those in. That kind of lessen the amount of new items I had to find every day. I kind of had a recurring stock, and it also gave me some stability from a business standpoint.
So from the get-go, you tried and got into replens?
I did books initially. So I bought probably about 1,500 books at a yard sale for $80. So loaded up my car. It took me about 3 weeks to go through all of them. And then I at least kept that going. That got my customer ratings. It got, kind of everything flowing for me. And then I took that money, and that's when I went and looked for online arbitrage. And I found probably about 20, 25 different Walmart items that I was making, at least 50% on, and they would sell fast, frequently, and I could go buy more at Walmart. So once I kind of had those as a base, I kind of got the revenue coming in, then I started getting more adventurous and expanding out. I think personally the worst scenario is someone who has or wants to spend a lot of money day one in the business until they've kind of learned the lessons, because it is so easy. Even, I've been doing this for 8 years. It's still very easy to miss something on the product or make a bad gamble, and you end up with, taking a loss on everything. I've been doing it for years, and it's still probably 50-50 for me as to identifying a product that's going to stick it out. It's several times I found a smoking hot product. The numbers were there, the profit was there. I get shipped in, everything looks great. I ship it, and en route, I see Amazon come in stock on it just out of the blue. And they're in stock for 3 months. So I'm stuck with it because I found out that what I thought was a great price isn't a great price when Amazon's in stock.
Right.
So,
and this was for OA, RA, not necessarily wholesale, I hope.
Yeah, that was wholesale, yes. Because the thing with wholesale is you have to buy a minimum quantity. Right. So Walmart and Target and stuff, I never really got burnt because I could go buy onesie twosies because I knew I could go back and get more. Wholesale, especially a lot of the verticals I'm in, it's a one and done. Like they'll do a mass production and then it's out of print of something. So you can make a ton of money on the out of print items, or you can also be stuck with a bunch of stuff that no one wanted and still doesn't want. So you have to do something with it. So that's why I kind of suggest that people can learn a specific topic or something that helps, if it's big enough, because then you kind of know, especially if you have kids, you have a great head start on toys, because your kids will tell you which Pokemon everybody hates, which one they love, what game is fun, what the latest toys are, and you can kind of key off of that. Q4 is a great time to learn because if you have time and you're agile, you can run out on a dime. You can make a lot of money following, the hot items that are getting low on stock. Um, like last year, it was Pie Face or Pie in the Face or whatever game. It was a silly game. It was advertised heavily, and I think it sold for around $12 or $14 at Toys R Us, somewhere around there. It was selling for 130, 140. I mean, it was a ridiculous price. So anyone that could go out and find one, like drive to a rural Walmart or whatever, just made a killing on it. Let's see if we can see the price history. But this is one of those games that I know me personally, I couldn't have looked at 6 months before Christmas and said, oh, hey, that's going to be a big seller. I'm going deep. It's one of those things where it just came out of nowhere and just took a life of its own. And every Christmas, there's a product like that. There's something that comes out of the left field that just blows everybody's socks off. See, it's still number 10.
Wow.
Seller rank. And that's
Number
from
10
Christmas.
toys.
Yeah. So number 10, they're selling hundreds, if not thousands a day.
Right.
Let me see if I scroll down to the pricing history because I was going to show you. It'll take a while to load.
And I know that it's now restricted to a lot of us who haven't sold it before.
Yep. And that's the thing. The new products, once they take off, they're not restricted right away unless they're with a brand that was already restricted. So all the sellers that got in early on this, because that's the key with Q4 is to get in early and get out, at least me personally. I mean, I know there's a lot of money spent with gift cards after Christmas, but, you can kind of follow a wave of people that are stuck with a lot of it right around Christmas, and they panic and they drop the price. Yeah, here we go. Let's look at the year. See, like right now, where's my statistic? Yeah, so right now, the lowest was $12.99, current $17.99, highest was $19.99. See, I don't think these are right.
Todd, quick question. When you look at the statistics tab, is that the sold price or was it just a listed price when they say lowest, current, and highest?
That is the buy box price. So that means that this one, at some point, the lowest price was $12.99 for the buy box.
But it doesn't necessarily mean somebody bought it at that price point, right?
It doesn't mean precisely that they did, but I would say that it definitely means that they did because that's the only thing that triggers the API is when there's a sale. So like all the repricers work off the Amazon API, and the way it works is when someone buys something, it reports that price back to you.
Got it.
So even though this doesn't tell them someone bought it, the fact that the API was called means that someone did.
And the drops pertain to sales because, when it says drops.
Yes. Okay. Yeah, those are drops in either, this is the first column is the drops in the price, and then the last column is the drops in sales rank.
Got it. And by drops, they mean it. The sales rank went lower, correct?
Yes. The sales rank went higher, and the price went lower. They view it from a negative standpoint.
I see. Okay.
So this sales rank, I don't know why it's not showing because I know it was priced. Yeah, I don't know. That's weird. There was another pie face listing, and that's where it was at. But this type of thing, if you could get them, everybody was buying, emptying the shelves basically of these items. So that's where you make a lot of the money during Christmas. On the hot items, if you have the time and you're willing to go out and just scavenge. A lot of the big. What? I'm sorry. Or even online. Yes, online. Online's a little riskier, I think, because you have a longer delivery time. So it's going to take you their delivery plus yours to get to Amazon. But yeah, online certainly works. And I know several sellers that during Q4, and actually I'm thinking of one that's about a $4 million a year seller, and they do this year round. But they will find the list of items that they want, and they will go to every store within driving distance or beyond and buy those items. So one couple in particular, like they have a list of replenishables that they get from, say, Walmart. He'll go out with his SUV and trailer and just drive to Walmart's in a row, stay in the hotel or whatever he has to do until he fills the trailer up, and then he drives back with it. So that's one approach. If you think of a hot toy and you're willing to scavenge all the McDonald's or the Walmart and the Target or Dollar General or wherever, you can make a lot of money that way. Or some people just try to, keep abreast of all the toys and just buy a wide array from one store. Just depends on kind of what you're geared for. Keepa allows you to set pricing alerts. Those are good to have too, so you can tell when the price is moving on something. So yeah, and
Sourcing groups.
I'm sorry.
What's your opinion on sourcing groups?
I like some of them. The ones I don't care for are the ones that have really large groups of people that sending the list to. The industry's kind of changed that, feedback where most of them have a limit on the number of people. And I would say really 100 is a safe number in general because, you got to, at least my experience is, a small percentage of people will actually go out and do the buying. This happens on when people give away free courses or buy lists. They'll pay for a buying list, but the percentage of people that actually take that buying list, analyze it, pick the ones they want to go buy, go out and buy it and ship it in are a small percentage. I think buy lists are great. One thing I subscribe to about 4 or 5 buy lists over the past years just to kind of experiment with them and play with them. One thing I did with a buy list that was kind of a larger group of people is I would save all the buys that they posted and then go back a month or two later and evaluate them. Because that way I could see the ones that were saturated, I could see the ones that tanked, I could see the ones that no one thought about, and I would just buy off of that. I would use the 2 or 3 month old version rather than the current version. Because on the hot list with the current version, a percentage of people will run out and buy them, ship them in, they'll start fighting with each other on price, run to the bottom and say, I'm never buying that again. And then they're off of it. So 3 months later, you can come along and then it's all yours at that point. Buy lists are a great way to kind of learn what sales and what products to look for, especially if you're just starting out because, the buy list, someone's hand selecting the items that are profitable. So you can kind of get to learn, hey, Nine West is a good brand, or man, Hasbro games always sell well if they're $10 or under, or, you start to see patterns. So you can then go just source on your own, basically.
Do you do grocery?
I do, yes. Yep.
What would you recommend for a newbie in grocery? Where does one begin? What stores are good to start at?
I can tell you, grocery is one of the categories that wholesale is just not really a viable option for. All the large wholesalers,
I meant for online arbitrage.
Okay.
More than anything else.
Yep. Online arbitrage. Walmart is great for groceries. Groceries. If you have any scratch and dent or salvage grocery stores, those are great to look at as long as you check the product condition and the date. Like we used to have several in Tampa area. I think there's only 2 now, but these are like the liquidation grocery stores where they don't have the same products. They'll just have like a pallet or a big box of food. Those are where you can really make a lot of money. Jessica LaRue, which is a Amazon.
Right.
Yeah. One of the first big hits she had was on a couple of cases of Hunt's ketchup. She bought it at a salvage grocery store for 50 cents a piece or something. They sold for $5 or $6 online. But groceries, the good tips are the regional products, cheese curds. You can only get those. Those are a bad example because they have to be refrigerated, but you can typically only get those in Wisconsin or Minnesota. A lot of people live in Florida, so that if you have something in your area that's plentiful that other areas of the country may not have, seasonal, people go nuts over pumpkin stuff around this year. There's all kinds of freaky flavored Pop-Tarts around Christmas or the fall. People go nuts over because they have long expiration dates, but the stores stop carrying them after the season. So, I know a lot of people that sell a crap ton of pumpkin stuff in March because people are still kind of, itching for pumpkin and you can't buy them at the store anymore.
Okay.
So those are some of the seasonal things you want to keep an eye on. I mean, one of the first products that I did really well with a couple of years ago was Girl Scout cookies, believe it or not, which now they're limited. I think you can only do 2 cases. But I was going down to, the Publix or the local Girl Scout chapter and buying the cookies for $3.50 a piece, which is the standard price. And they're selling online for $12 to $14. because, you know, a lot of people up north, like in New York, if you're on the 40th floor of an apartment building, where are you going to find the groceries? You know, plus you have to trudge through the snow and just all the other stuff. So they were buying them online and they were selling like crazy. So a lot of the money makers are the seasonal or the scarcity factor. So just pay attention to, you know, new ground Dunkin' Donuts coffee, pumpkin flavor, limited time. You know, Starbucks has seasonal stuff. All those kind of things people want year round. So if you have them, they're still in date, then you can do a good business with those as well. Peeps, I've never got into the Peeps, but people just rave about those. I know they sell like crazy around Easter and even afterwards.
You mean Pete's Coffee?
Peeps, the little like marshmallow chicken things.
Oh, I haven't heard of that.
Oh, I'm sorry. Not Pete's. I'll show you. They're disgusting, I think, but a lot of people love them. These things.
Oh, okay.
Let's see. You know those little things?
Oh, I see. Okay.
They're like an Easter candy, the marshmallow. Those, once they're gone, they're gone, and they sell out like crazy near Easter. So, you know, you can Google online for merchandise calendar or retail calendar or something, and they'll kind of tell you, you know, Easter's in March, back to school is, you know, September, you know, you have Halloween. So you kind of can learn to get ahead of the seasons by a couple months and start buying up stuff, or buy it in season and keep it for a couple months and really get some more money out of them. But grocery, obviously, you want to stay under 4 ounces if it's a glass jar and it's a liquid, because it's restricted. You can't send glass jars that 4 ounces or over in. Make sure you pack it well and under the expiration date requirements and all that stuff, because it's people get pretty excited about out of date stuff, and that's one thing that Amazon will typically take the blame for. But that's one thing that will get you a ding if you send in out of date stuff.
So how do you ensure that if you're buying online? What if, you know, the retailer sends out something that's not, you know, going to be around on the shelf for long?
As far as shelf date or expiration date?
Yes.
Yep, it's the luck of the dice. That's the one thing I don't really care for with online arbitrage, especially Walmart. They are horrible at packing. I mean, I ordered some heavy cans of a powder along with some, I forget what it was, something crushable, and they just threw it all in one box. So the cans rolled around and smashed everything. And I've gotten to where if I order from Walmart, I don't have it shipped to my house. I have it shipped to the store, because then I go there and whatever's busted, which is always something, I just take it right up front, return it right there, save me a trip.
Okay, makes sense. Okay.
And that's the drawback with online arbitrage. And Toys R Us, they're horrible fourth quarter. You know, everybody's busy, so they just throw everything in there. One time I ordered from Walmart, and I guess to fill the box, because they didn't have paper, they just threw in handfuls of returns. So I had all kinds of tubes of toothpaste and socks and just everything thrown in the box to pack around it. So that's one reason I like online sourcing, retail arbitraging. So I'll go online, click on the stuff available in store, and kind of figure out what I want to buy, and then I'll go to the store and pick it out myself, because then I know what date I'm getting. I know it's not a dent and can. You know, I know it's going to be in pristine condition.
Okay, so you order it online, but you'll just pick it up in store.
I will choose it online. Typically, I won't order it, because if it's available in the store, then I'll just know it's at the store and I'll go get it myself.
Okay.
And especially if you can frequent one store, you know, don't pass up a chance to kind of chat with the staff or the store manager. I know Sean has at least a couple stores where they will call him and say, hey, we got this stuff on sale starting tomorrow, or, you know, aren't you looking for some of this stuff? Because stores want to move merchandise. Store managers want to move merchandise, because when they get something on clearance, they just need to get it out of there, you know, and they're not really concerned with what profit they're going to make on it. They just need to liquidate it. So if you can be friends with a Walgreens manager or Walmart or something, and they know they can call you to get rid of excess stuff, then you'll be their first call, because then it's easier for them. Sean gets those.
Walmart is typically reseller friendly?
Walmart is very reseller friendly. Yes. Walgreens is very reseller friendly. Dollar General, Hallmark, Dollar Tree. Other than Target and Kohl's, most of them are very reseller friendly.
I see. And do you have any tips on how to get an online exemption when you do online arbitrage?
Some of them will, some of them won't. Walmart's probably one of the friendliest as far as sales tax exemption, because you just go up to the customer service desk and fill out the card, and they give it to you to hand to the cashier. But even with them online, you have to send them a copy of it, and then every time you order online, you have to open a customer support case to have them to reverse the sales tax. There's no way they'll do it automatically, and that's typical. I mean, typically wholesalers are the only ones that will honor tax exemption. Retail typically won't. Yeah, unfortunately, you just have to manually do it, and some of them won't do it. But yeah, there's no easy way to do that, unfortunately.
Have you ever had sourcers who've gone out for you and done RA for you?
Yes. Yep, and that's even easier now with the Amazon app or Scoutify or ScamMaster or ScamPower, whatever you want to use. With them, I always keep them on a tight leash. So initially I say, you buy one of whatever you think is a good buy at the most, or you just have them log and, log the UPC, the price, and the product that they think would be a good buy until they get the hang of it, because it takes a while to learn the combination of sales rank, net profit, packing costs. I think it's a great idea to have all your sourcers also do at least once, pack it to ship at the FBA, kind of see what's involved. If they see a dish soap that, hey, we're going to make $2.50 on, that's great. But when you get back and they realize you have to double bag it and tape it down and do all this other stuff, then, it kind of drives home the point that, there's some hidden costs as well. Yeah, it takes a while to train them. The only problem is everybody points out you're basically training your competition. So once they see how easy it is or how good it is, it's tempting for them to do it on their own. So that's one risk, but it's a great job for, college or high school kids, that don't really have the ambition to go out and start a job necessarily. They just want something they can do on their own time, that type of thing.
And how do they pay? Do you give them gift cards that they can then check out with?
Some people do gift cards. Some people do like a business credit cards, because I use the Spark, the one from Capital One, Spark, and you can set a spending limit on it when you request a card. Some of them just say, hey, go out and scan it and bring me back everything you scan, and they analyze it. Some of them say, bring me back a buy list, and then they go buy it. It just depends. There was one reseller, I actually thought it was pretty ingenious, but every Black Friday, they put a month before Black Friday, they put ads out, Craigslist, wanting shoppers, college kids, and they will feed them breakfast. They rent vans and they drive them around and just drop off a hoard at them at each location. And they have a list, and some of the items have bonuses on the list. So basically, go buy as many of these as you can. Here's cash, and I need a receipt. By the way, for every one of these that you find, I'll pay you an extra $3 or $5 or whatever. So basically, you drop them off on Black Friday and say, for every pie face you bring me, I'll pay you $2 extra. And they just release them, Black Friday, because, our college kids, it's kind of fun. They don't mind dealing with the crowds, and they just pick them up an hour later, and away they go.
Right.
So the good thing about this business is there's a million people doing it, but there's a million ways to do it also at the same time. So you may be selling the same thing as someone else, but you may get it a totally different way or at a totally different price, or, a different angle for it. So there's room for just about everything. That's why we tell people to kind of find what you like. If you like shopping, then hop to it. If you're kind of more reclusive, then do it online. Just find where you can leverage your expertise, your skills already. Some of the best shoe shoppers are some of the ladies that were shoe addicts. Before they were doing Amazon, they had a huge shoe collection. So they was just a natural. All they do is flip the switch from buy for me to buy for you, and they go out and just scan. They know instinctively what's a great brand, what sells, what kind of shoes women like. It's just they're kind of their wheelhouse, I guess. Hope I didn't lose audio. I don't hear anything.
Oh, I hear you.
Okay, good. Whew. Got quiet. I was panicking. So that was a horrible example of reverse wholesale, but that's basically the concept. You find the product, you find the product name like Pie Face. That's made by Hasbro. So you just go search either Hasbro wholesale or Hasbro distributor. And you stay away from, and I think we have a list out there. If not, I'll make one up. But you stay away from DHgate and AliExpress because they're not wholesalers. So you can see right there, distribution, wholesale distributor. You kind of learn what they call themselves basically. They'll be a distributor. So looks like EE is the only one unless you buy direct from Hasbro, which I think is a pretty steep price. So then you can search for distributor.
So the thought behind it is that if it's a fairly large, nationally well-known brand like Hasbro, you have a better chance of opening an account with a distributor. Is that how that works?
Yeah, the difference between a wholesaler and distributor, my definition anyway, they're kind of using interchangeably, is typically a distributor will have multiple product lines. So if Hasbro did their own wholesale, there would be a Hasbro wholesale, but they sell to distributors like E Distribution is distributor, BBCW, which means E Distribution carries Hasbro, Mattel, Biff Bang Pow. They carry a bunch of different brands. So distributor is like a retail store for wholesalers. They have a bunch of brands. One other tip that I was trying to do with Box 51, but didn't work. But worst case, or actually easiest case, if you want to find the wholesaler, go to the company website itself, the official site, and they will oftentimes, it's always at the bottom, oftentimes they will have like a wholesale or retailer or something like that. If they don't, you can see this is where to buy. That's going to be retail, I can guarantee you. Corporate investors, but if they don't, just click on the contact. And this is how 9 times out of 10 I find the wholesaler, just because there's so many people that say they're a wholesaler and they're not, and just so much okey doke out there that I just open. See, this is customer service. Sometimes they'll say request a wholesale account, but if not, click on customer service and say I'm interested in buying quantities of your product wholesale. Do you work with a wholesaler or distributor? And that way you get the official answer from them. They'll explain to you the rules right then and there, and you don't have to go, risking that you're hooking up with a scammer or something.
I see.
And they will tell you minimums, or some of them they'll just let you apply right there. Some of them they don't have it listed, but they will sell wholesale. It never hurts to ask. You're never going to get in trouble, or they're never going to, make fun of you for asking about wholesale. So it never hurts to ask. And just like, in high school, they always said the homecoming queen never got asked out on a date because everybody assumed that, someone else was asking her out. Same thing with other products. If you see it for sale on Amazon or not for sale, don't assume that someone else has already tried, is already selling it, because sometimes the most obvious products are the ones that everybody overlooks.
And do you usually, is it okay to let them know you want to sell on Amazon? Because I've heard different opinions on that.
I never volunteer it. I don't ever hide it, but I don't ever say, hey, my name's Todd, I want to sell your stuff on Amazon, because that instantly kind of puts them on the defensive. Matter of fact, to kind of blur the lines a little bit, when we first started, if you sell at a flea market or some of these open air markets, even if it's just once a year or a church fundraiser, then when they say, where do you sell? Then you say, well, we have our own website and we sell in open air markets or specialty events, or, kind of dress up and make it sound fancy. But just so that way you could say, well, we have our own website. We sell at seasonal events and open air festivals, as well as online on some of the popular marketplaces. So if you
Oh,
got gloss over like that, it sounds like, whoa, they're selling everywhere because they just want their stuff to sell. But when you just say, yeah, I peddle stuff on eBay or I sell stuff on Amazon, then especially now, as time has gone on, everybody's heard of Amazon. So either they're already got 1,000 people selling on Amazon or they do it themselves. So you don't want to be a me too. You want to bring something else to the table that they're interested in, and then they'll let you sell on Amazon as a back channel. Even though, you're going to sell on Amazon primarily, It's getting harder though. It's kind of the same squeeze that the mom and pop stores felt with Walmart because as more brands are aware of Amazon and aware of how it works, more and more of them are saying from a wholesale standpoint, yeah, we're limiting our resellers, or you have to be approved, or you have to pay this online, or, they're kind of wising up to the fact that if one person sells your stuff on Amazon, there's no improvement with 1,000 people doing it, as long as it's there.
do you think there's other marketplaces that are, like Jet and Walmart, or?
Yep, I sell on Jet. I don't sell on Walmart yet. They're viable marketplaces. There's still a percentage of Amazon for myself and everybody I've talked to. So
Right.
there's certainly options, but there's none that are equal at the moment, for me at least.
Right. I'm just thinking from the point of view of, like you said, what's their incentive to go with a smaller, newer?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. And that's the thing with the larger ones. You just have to start with your other angle and just kind of mention online as an aside. With the individual suppliers or brands, you just kind of have to build the relationship and just offer the selling online as a service to them. And then they'll go that way. Jet is interesting, but they're purely competing on price to the extent that if your listing on Jet is more than the product on Amazon, they deactivate the listing. So you have no choice but to price at or below Amazon on Jet.
Oh,
Yeah. And they don't have FBA or anything like it. So you have to do either your own shipping or you have to have Amazon fulfill it for you, which again eats into your profit margin. So, and Jet has made it clear that their mission is compete on price. So that's kind of the way they're going with it. So I think, yeah, we're at 9:24. Does anybody have any other questions or any comments or want to see anything else? No. Lux, do you have any other questions?
oh, I actually just pasted the link to the mastermind. If you could just,
Okay.
if you have a few minutes to take a look at it.
Yep,
I want to make sure I know my way around it.
Yep, I don't mind at all. Let me make sure I have access to it.
And I believe we're the Mastermind 2 group.
Mastermind leads group 2.
Right.
Okay. Make sure I have an ID to it. If I don't, I may have to get
Got it.
someone to do a walkthrough for you. I think I do, but
Oh, while it's loading, Todd, I had a quick question regarding meltables. I know they say you can start selling from October 1st.
Yep.
Now, does that mean that I could technically order maybe a week prior online and then factor in the delivery time, and I should still be okay? And I'm thinking either to my home or to a prep house.
Yeah, they typically won't let you create an inbound shipment until the start date, so you would have
Got
to
it.
hold it. But yes, you should be fine from a product standpoint.
Okay, so maybe a week prior and then order and then factor in 4 or 5 days of shipping time. It should be okay.
Yeah, and I typically do not recommend that you refrigerate the chocolates while you're waiting, because Amazon's not going to refrigerate them, and a lot of chocolates don't do well with refrigerated, not refrigerated, or Yes, refrigerated and then not refrigerated afterwards. I'll just keep them in
Right.
whatever state you buy them in.
Sure. I would think that, yeah.
It does not look like I can sign in.
Okay. That's all right.
Yeah,
I just thought that, it seemed like there was a lot going on there, so I just maybe I can ask Sean next week.
yeah,
If he's...
and I can message Sean and let him know that you would like some assistance, just kind of navigating in the
Right.
overview of it. Yeah, that's not a problem.
No, this has been awesome. Thank you so much.
Yeah,
Appreciate it.
not a problem. If you think of any other questions, I'm like I said, I'm not online for webinars too often, but I'm almost always on Facebook, so you can post a question.
What is your last name?
Ryan, Ryan.
Got it. Okay.
Yeah,
Oh, I've heard of you.
Hopefully good things.
No, I think I've seen you on some of the groups. Are you on the TA group?
Yes, I'm in just about all the groups.
Right. Okay.
Yeah. You can tag me in the post, or you can send a friend request and message me or whatever. I don't ever mind that. So.
Okay. Well, thank you so much. I appreciate it.
And I will let Sean know about the other questions. And I think that's it. If no one else has any other questions, we're good to go.
Sean did mention a peer-to-peer group. No, I'm not sure what that means and when that would be. Would you know of a schedule?
Peer-to-peer group. I'm not familiar with that. Yeah, I'm sorry. I don't know what that is. I'll have to ask him that as well.
I can ask him. No worries.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I'll let them know about the other questions then. And if there's no further questions, then we will call it a wrap.
Thank you.